Labor Day is kind of bittersweet for me. It reminds me of my parents, salt of the earth people. Dad was a blue-collar worker and Mom was an entry-level white-collar worker, and they both believed in and lived the American dream. But they also struggled quite a bit from financial stress. Despite the challenges, they brought a great deal of dignity to their work and honored their values, never calling in sick, never being late, making sure they were at their jobs ready to go when starting time hit. Hey everyone, I'm Laverne McKinnon, and welcome to the Moonshot Mentor blogcast. I'm a certified career coach and grief recovery specialist. I help ambitious-driven people feel confident, empowered, and excited after experiencing a career setback. Whether it's from feeling stuck in a tough period or frustration from slow progress, I offer up tools and resources to revamp your path to career success. Today, I'm taking the day to honor my parents and other American workers, and to challenge you to think about whether the source of your income is a job or a career. My dad was a heavy machine operator, primarily working on building structures throughout Chicago. He was a union man through and through. One of the happiest days of my life was when I was in my early 20s and I was driving on the I-55. I was exiting Lamont Road and I saw my dad in a Caterpillar dragline excavator. I'd never seen my dad at work before. I waved so hard I thought my arm might get flung off. My mom worked as an administrative assistant in the membership department at the Lions Club. It's a kind of nonprofit, and I still don't know exactly what they do. Since she was Japanese, she was responsible for inputting the names of Japanese members. I don't think she loved the job, but she loved her colleagues. They would go on walks in the parking lot during breaks. My parents taught me to value hard work. Show up early, be prepared, keep my head down, and don't rock the boat. When Dad would be scheduled to work at a new site, he'd drive out there on a Sunday to make sure he knew the route and the ins and outs. Sometimes in the evenings, I'd see him scribbling equations on a lined piece of paper at the kitchen table. He was figuring out the specs of the job on his own time, so he'd be ready to go the next day. When I was in second grade, Mom switched jobs from being a full-time parent, taking care of 3 children, with me being the youngest, to working full-time at the Lions Club. She worked the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. shift so she could be home when I got back from school. Her thinking was that it was more important for her to be there to help me process my school day rather than getting me dressed and fed in the morning. And she was spot on. The choice for my mom to get a job was a financial decision driven by the inconsistency of construction jobs for my dad, and that his union had gone on strike a few times, which really impacted our finances. I truly understand and relate to what the WGA and SAG-AFTRA guilds are fighting for, along with the personal and financial toll and the ripple effects to other workers. I also, interestingly, came across this study from the Cornell University School of Industrial and Labor Relations. More than 320,000 workers have been part of 230 strikes so far this year. It's really, really stressful, and my childhood had a lot of stress because of my dad's job insecurity. He wasn't insecure about his ability to do the job. He was insecure that there would actually be work. It's an important and subtle distinction. A lot of my clients are also insecure about their ability to find work, despite unemployment being at its lowest rate since the 1960s. How can the U.S. economy be consistently growing, and yet the people I'm talking to are feeling extreme stress and anxiety about paying their bills and future employment? And it's not just people in the entertainment industry. I wish I had better insight because the data is not lining up, which is my go-to answer whenever I'm feeling anxious. Look at the data. But what do you do when the data doesn't actually align with personal experience? My parents didn't have a lot of stress management tools. Dad was a drinker and Mom would sleep or watch TV. I don't blame them at all. We do the best with what we have. And I really hope that it doesn't sound like I'm shaming them. I'm incredibly proud of my parents for how they bootstrapped their lives out of nothing and raised 3 kids. They did argue a lot during times when my dad wasn't working, whether he was on strike or it being a slow period for construction. He'd do small one-off jobs for friends and friends of friends for food stamps. We weren't on assistance, but that's how my dad would get paid for fixing someone's car or water heater or patching up a roof. For Dad, it was important that he do something, anything. Sitting around waiting for things to get better was too stress-inducing. He knew he had no real control on the outcome of the economy or union negotiations, so he looked for places to put his energy. Mom would have preferred for him to do more work around the house, but that wasn't his thing. Thus, the arguments. When Mom eventually took a job, it didn't sit well with Dad. They were quite traditional, and he felt it was his role to bring home the bacon, but times required a new perspective and a harsh reality check. Finding a source of agency helped them counter their helplessness. Agency involves regaining a sense of control. It doesn't typically remove the stress, but it does diminish it. As soon as I was able to, I started working, first as a babysitter and then in W-2 gigs. My parents would drop me off and pick me up from the country kitchen where I made salads and relish trays. Same with grilling burgers at McDonald's and folding sweaters at Madigan's. They'd let me borrow the car to clean houses. Needless to say, I never wanted to experience the financial stress that they did. Later, my parents made a considered decision to pay for me to go to college. While my parents didn't invest in stocks and bonds, they invested in me. And that belief system continues today. I never hesitate to invest in my education. I'm not sure that my parents thought of their jobs as a career. The jobs were the best they could do since neither had a high school diploma. But they did well enough, and it helped them take care of their family, which was their number one priority. A career was a privilege, and they gave me the opportunity to have one. So I've got some questions for you. When you consider what you do for income, do you think of it as a job or a career? Do you feel secure or insecure about your ability to do the job? And how secure do you feel that there will be a job available to you? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please drop me a comment. If you enjoy what you hear, please subscribe. Your subscription helps me continue to provide tools and insights to support your career growth, including the importance of grief work. Want to work with me? I offer private coaching sessions as well as in-person and virtual group work. You can reach out to my website at lavernmckinnon.com and we can set up a complimentary consultation. See you next week.